My arrogant father-in-law offered me a $50,000 check to divorce his son because my bloodline wasn't good enough for their family. I took the check and smiled. Arthur Whitfield lives in a house that has a name, not a number. Ashford Hall, Georgian estate, 12 rooms, circular driveway, hedges trimmed every Tuesday whether they need it or not. The foyer has a portrait of his grandfather in military dress. The wine cellar is climate controlled. Everything in that house exists to remind you that you're standing in the presence of lineage. Arthur wears three-piece suits to Sunday brunch. He speaks in a voice calibrated to make you feel interviewed rather than conversed with. He shakes hands with exactly 2 pumps, enough to acknowledge, not enough to suggest equality. He once told me, at his own dinner table, that my family name didn't appear in any registry worth consulting. I married his son Mark 3 years ago. The moment Arthur learned I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment with a single mother who worked in a school cafeteria, I became a stain on his carpet. Not a person, a blemish. He never yelled. Men like Arthur don't yell. They diminish. They edit you from conversations. They introduce you as Mark's wife without adding your name. They ask where you went to school and say ah in a tone that means nowhere. 3 years of being seated at the far end, excluded from framed photos. 3 years of him telling Mark, in front of me, that he married beneath the family's expectations. Yesterday, Arthur asked me outside. We stood in his circular driveway next to his Bentley. He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Inside, a check for $50,000. My name. Take this. Leave my son. Let him find a woman who belongs in this family's future. You're a lovely girl, but not our kind. Mark deserves a partner whose bloodline complements his, not compromises it. Said the way he says everything. Calm, measured, as though explaining a business decision to someone not smart enough for the math. I looked at the check, looked at Arthur. Thank you. Very generous. Then I reached into my bag and pulled out a manila envelope. 2 months earlier, I'd bought Mark a DNA ancestry kit for his birthday. Casual gift. He expected the aristocratic European cocktail Arthur had narrated their whole lives. Spit in the tube, mailed it, forgot. Results arrived 3 weeks later. The paternity markers showed 0 biological connection to Arthur Whitfield. Not reduced, not partial, 0, no shared Y chromosome lineage. The ancestry didn't match Arthur's documented heritage. It matched someone else entirely. I did my own research. Arthur's wife had a personal trainer in the early 90s, Gabriel Sousa, 3 miles from Ashford Hall. Cross-referencing the database, Mark's paternal line was a 99.7% match to the Sousa family. Arthur's pure bloodline was never his. I slid the results onto the hood of the Bentley. Pages fanned in the breeze. I pointed to the paternity section. You're right, Arthur. Bloodlines matter, so I thought you should see Mark's. He picked up the first page. His eyes moved across the text. I watched his face undergo what I can only describe as architectural collapse. Not sudden, structural. Confidence left first, then posture, then color. His hands trembled. He flipped to the second page. The paternity exclusion. The match summary. A name he probably hadn't heard in 30 years. He didn't speak, didn't shout. He stood in his perfect driveway beside his perfect car holding proof that his entire identity was built on a lie his wife had kept for 3 decades. I picked up the check from the hood, folded it into my pocket. Thank you for the $50,000. Mark and I will use it for something nice, maybe a vacation. Meanwhile, you might want to call your wife before your lawyer, or after. I'm not particular. I walked down the driveway, gravel crunching under my shoes. I didn't look back. Mark knows now. He's processing. He's hurt, but not by me. Arthur checked into a hotel that evening. His wife hasn't spoken publicly. The portrait of the grandfather still hangs in the foyer, but I imagine it looks different now. Less like heritage, more like decoration. Status is a choice. DNA is a fact. And the facts just cost Arthur $50,000 and every wall he ever built around his name.